Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever you're watching in the world. My name is Martin Gray, and I am here with Squigs and Eddie for a new look poetry news. Hey, Squigs, hey, Eddie. So, before we get into the main news, I first want to tell you about the Button Poetry video contest. Now, most of us will be familiar with Button Poetry, the YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers posting multiple poetry videos every week. Well, a video that you make could be one of those. They are taking submissions until the 31st of August for videos of between 1 and 4 minutes long. The winners will not only get their videos on the Button Poetry YouTube channel and associated social media, but also get $500 in cash. Entries are open to everybody aged 18 or over from anywhere in the world, and entries cost $6 if you're 18 to 21 or from outside the US, or $8 if you're inside the US. Videos need to be between 1 and 4 minutes long, and you can submit as many times as you like. It would be great to get on Button if you can. It's great exposure. It's a great channel. So if you do have a video or can make a video, then please do it and send it in by the 31st of August. Now, I would like to bring back Eddie and Squigs. What do you think about that? Do you fancy submitting to Button?
I would actually, like growing up, or even like a few years ago when I would go online and find Button Poetry, I would be mesmerized and I would have always wanted to be on the Button Poetry platforms, whether it was on YouTube or on Instagram, and they have such a huge following. And it is interesting, and I would attempt to send a video of mine to their channel for me to be featured. That would be great. That would be a great opportunity.
Yes, I agree. It's a great opportunity. There's a lot of talent in Button Poetry as well. Poetry music videos or poetry videos is such a great idea. I'm surprised it hasn't caught fire yet. I know over here in Winnipeg, we a few years ago, we had a project with a Winnipeg film group which paired filmmakers with poets to submit pieces as well. And it was a lot of fun. And, you know, I would like to think that poetry video director might be an occupation for me in the future as well. It's a great opportunity to add more to a performance.
That'd be a wonderful job title to have, Squigs. Absolutely. And yeah, and absolutely. I think there's been a lot of famous poets on Button, either poets who are famous when they're on it or poets that have become quite well known after being on it. And yeah, it's a great platform to get on if you can. So yeah, I think the more creative a video can be, the better, really, because obviously I imagine a lot of people are going to be submitting to this competition. So however you can make the video interesting, it doesn't just have to be, say, standing up in front of a wall and performing or a live performance. You know, there's a lot you can do. So yeah, you've got a couple of weeks, so do get your creative hats on and send it in, and good luck. So we will be back with Eddie right after a word from our sponsors.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Poetry News. I'm Eddie, and I'm joining you from Batoon in the north of Lebanon, and I will be bringing you news about some workshops and residencies that you can check out. Today, I have a really interesting workshop that you can check out. It's going to take place on Saturday, the 21st of August at 4 p.m. GMT. It is entitled Place and Identity, Fascination Street Creative Writing Workshop, and it is hosted by Tunbridge in the Wells Poetry Festival. What about this event? This event discovers writing poetry about the locations that poets often overlook. We tend to write more about our experiences, our personal narratives, and about the things that we've experienced and have had in our lives. However, we tend to overlook and forget about the locations and what these locations could tell us and the stories that these locations have. Maybe it could be just a shop or a cafe or any location around us, whether it is indoor or outdoor. This could be a workshop that can help us tap onto these ideas and tap onto these locations that could bring up some great poetry. This workshop is not only for experienced writers, but it could also be for beginners or new writers. Whether you are writing in prose or poetry, you can check out this online event. And it is the age is 14 plus. Also, if the time permits, they will have a reading part to it, and where you can share what you've written during the workshop. But of course, this is not obligatory. You can check, of course, the link to this workshop and all the other workshops in the description to this video. Squigs, Martin, do you guys think that this is a workshop or this is a topic that you would attend or you would be part of?
I think absolutely. Yeah, I would. I think it's absolutely true what you say, Eddie, that, you know, the places are so important to what we write, because yes, we have our personal journeys, our experiences in those places, and we focus on those, like you say, but it's those places that fire off all those synapses in your mind and actually bring those memories back to life. It's amazing how you can say, go to a space you've not been to for ages and everything just comes flooding back, and things that you've just completely forgotten about. And also, you know, you mentioned, for example, things like cafes, and I know certainly, how often have you heard it said after, say, something's been refurbed, that people say it was better before? And I think maybe part of that is because they're not getting that same memory spark that they were before. They're just not conscious of that. So yeah, I think it's a fabulous workshop. I'd love to go along.
As well, I love the idea of how it promotes more classical movements of poetry, such as Romanticism, and where a key element is the glorification of nature. So it would definitely add more to the experience of the piece and of the writing anyways, you know, connecting with the poet when you can speak to the place you are in when writing. And yes, I would definitely check out this workshop.
Yeah, actually, just to draw back to something that Martin said, these location, I just remembered a few weeks ago, I went to a restaurant that serves homemade Lebanese food other than the stuff that we find in restaurants. And as soon as I got in, I was like, wow, this place reminds me of my grandma. Or my grandma's house. So because of the food that's being cooked. And that by itself is something we wouldn't think about writing. Maybe we would go back to writing about our grandma's house, but never about that specific location. And that would be great. And to say what Squigs said, it is interesting how modern poetry is kind of going back to these older versions or these older eras in literature that people now tend to go beyond and try to write modern poetry. Before we move on to Squigs news for the day, let's stop another time for a commercial break from our sponsors.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Squigs, reporting for, of course, the Poetry News. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for a new format. As well, yes, I am reporting from Winnipeg, Canada. And this week, I would invite everyone to check out this article I found on goodtimes.sc. It's an article which covers why poetry has seen a resurgence during the pandemic. And in the article, it interviews many writers, actually, in fact, such names as Farnaz Fatimi, co-founder of the Hive Poetry Collective, Stephen Kessler, author of Garage Elegies and Last Call, as well as Wilma Marcus Chandler, author of Nightbridge, and the founder of Celebration of the Muse, to name a few. And the links are in the show, and I'd like to speak more about everyone's opinions about the resurgence of poetry, definitely in modern times during the pandemic. I think it's a great idea. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that the pandemic did help a lot in the resurgence of a lot of things actually that would have gone we wouldn't do on a regular basis, on a day-to-day basis. Like when we were all locked down, I think a lot of people have picked up cooking, which is something that we would usually have takeout, or maybe getting that guitar and playing. So I think poetry is one of these things that a lot of people have forgotten, or the mainstream has forgotten for a while. And then because of the pandemic, because we're all locked in, because we couldn't go out, there's a lot of free time on our hands. So this led us, or led a lot of people to try to tap onto and try to look for these things. And poetry was one of these things, and that was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just to extend on from what you're saying, Eddie, I think poetry is quite well suited to the sort of situations that the pandemic brought in. You know, you think of, say, it's like something like Zoom. It's really designed for business meetings. It's designed to filter out a lot of non-vocal sonic ranges and things like that. But for poetry, that's great. You can get a whole load of poets on it, and it doesn't really cause any damage to the sound. Whereas for, say, something like a live music event, I've not really struggled to go to a poetry Zoom. It's not the same as a face-to-face gig, but it's a much closer replacement than, say, a music live stream, which just doesn't seem to feel like it has anything close to the soul of, say, a live music performance. I think poetry lends itself to being much closer to that. And, all you need is a pad and pen to write, so you're going to have that in your house, and it's been a really good friend, I think, to a lot of people through this. And I just hope we can somehow maintain these connections that we formed online. Now we're starting to go back to these face-to-face gigs in certain countries. And for countries that haven't got that far yet, my heart still goes out to countries that are still being as ravaged by the pandemic as many are. But we need to keep these connections, these online connections going as we go back to face-to-face somehow.
Yeah, it's actually now more than ever, it gives us reason to travel, to meet these people and maintain connections in persons, hopefully when everyone's safe, of course. But thankfully, with platforms such as StreamYard, which is wonderful, shameless plug, that's, during social distancing, we have found ways to maintain and make new connections. In fact, just another point is poet's travel agent might be another career I might consider in the future. Anyways,
having a lot of careers being brought up in this conversation.
Right. Opportunities, man. Yeah,
of course.
Cool.
Yeah, I do think that it is really interesting how poetry became such a thing that people would want to attend, because in a regular situation, people wouldn't just get up, dress up and then just head to an open mic. With these online open mic, you could be in your bed wearing your pajamas and just have that click of a button, and you're watching people perform. And this led to a lot of people discovering the beauty of poetry that we all have found.
It's absolutely true, isn't it? And I know certainly I've done a lot of poetry gigs where I've dressed up for my top half, but I've just been wearing jogging pants on the bottom half. Absolutely. I mean, who's to know, right? And it's but yeah, absolutely. It's a very comforting thing, isn't it, to be in such a safe and comfortable space like that. I mean, before the pandemic, I loved traveling out to gigs. I'd often be, say a couple of times a month, I'd get off in the car and drive 50, 60, 70 miles, maybe even a bit more sometimes, to a gig and back. And it's great to have that community feeling. But sometimes that drive back is so tiring late at night. But to have your commute from the gig be up the stairs to your bedroom, or turning your laptop off and laying down or something, it's great. And I think online gigs are here to stay. I don't think they're going anywhere, which I think is great.
Well, thank you everyone for your opinions of that, and hopefully y'all stay sharply dressed for every meeting. And so Martin, did you want to talk about the other shows going on at the Poetry Global Network?
Absolutely. So we have a number of shows and events going on here at PGN. We have the Poets Lighthouse, that is 3 a.m. London time every Sunday. We have Poets React, which is 1 a.m. London time every Saturday. And of course, we are going out at 7 p.m. London time every Monday. We also have our weekly open mic, Bottoms Up, which is at a different time every week to correspond to different locations around the world. We're always in somebody's late afternoon, which I think is going to be fantastic. Just before I hand back over to Eddie, I just want to say, if we want to know what you think about what we've talked about. How do you feel about poetry gigs going back face to face? How do you feel about picking up the senses of place within poetry? How do you feel about making poetry videos? We would love to hear what you think about all these things. So please do drop us a comment below.
Yeah, and, don't only do that, also like this video and subscribe, hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel. Also check out our other socials like Instagram and Facebook, and make sure you stay in contact with us. And if you want anything, please check out or send us an email at poetryglobalnetwork@gmail.com. And for now, this is all we have for you. We hope to see you next week. Thank you, Squigs. Thank you, Martin. This is all we have for you today. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.